It's funny how one kiss can ruin your life. Or maybe, if you're unlucky enough, it can show you the life you were too terrified to live. When Daniel leaned into me that night, our lips brushing in a moment we both promised would never happen, I felt the world shatter. I wasn't supposed to feel anything. I wasn't supposed to want him. We had a deal. Play the perfect couple for his conservative family, keep up appearances, and then quietly go our separate ways once the storm passed. Simple, harmless, safe. But there was nothing safe about the way my chest burned after that kiss. Nothing harmless about the way my knees nearly buckled under the weight of wanting him. And nothing simple about the way I ran out into the cold October night like a coward, leaving him standing there, his hand reaching for me and his eyes filled with something I couldn't bear to name. I should have known Daniel wouldn't let me go. Daniel Carter wasn't just anyone. He was the golden boy of Willow Creek, Ohio. Quarterback turned investment advisor. The son every parent wished for. The neighbor everyone smiled at. The man whose smile could make women blush and men feel suddenly small. And me? I was Ethan Miller college dropout, part-time barista, full-time disappointment to a mother who barely spoke to me anymore. Our worlds weren't meant to collide. But secrets have a way of binding people tighter than love ever could. It all started the night Daniel cornered me outside the diner where I worked. He'd heard about my rumors whispered by the only gay kid in town with enough foolish pride not to hide it. He didn't waste time with small talk. "I need your help," he'd said, his voice low, urgent. "With what?" I asked, more irritated than curious. "Pretending to be my boyfriend. Just for a while." I laughed in his face. The Daniel Carter asking Memethis kind of favor? It was absurd. But then he explained. His parents, devout, old-fashioned, had started pushing him toward a marriage he didn't want. He couldn't tell them the truth. Not yet. So he thought a fake relationship might stall them, buy him time. I should have walked away. But when he looked at me, his usually steady eyes trembling with something like fear, I said yes. Maybe it was the cruelty of wanting to see him squirm. Maybe it was the hidden desire to stand next to him, even if only as a lie. Maybe it was because, deep down, I already knew I was weak where Daniel was concerned. We were good at it. Too good. Family dinners where his mother beamed at me like I was the miracle she'd prayed for. Church Sundays where his father nodded in quiet approval, as if I were a bandage on the wound they couldn't acknowledge. Even barbecues with neighbors, where Daniel's hand would casually rest on my back, fingers brushing my shirt in a way that seemed casual to everyone else but left my skin burning for hours. The more we faked, the more real it felt. And that was the danger. The night of the kiss it wasn't planned. His family had gone to bed, the house quiet except for the crackling of the fireplace. I was sprawled on the couch, teasing him about the terrible beer he'd stocked in the fridge, when suddenly his laughter faded. His eyes lingered on me too long, his breath catching in his throat. And then he leaned in. It was clumsy, hesitant, almost like he expected me to push him away. But I couldn't. My body betrayed me, my lips answering his before my mind could scream at me to stop. And when it was over, when the taste of him still lingered and my heart beat too fast, I did the only thing I knew how to do. I ran. The next day, he showed up at the cafe. I tried to pretend nothing had happened, tried to bury the memory of his lips against mine, but he wouldn't let me. "Ethan," he said, his voice tight, "we need to talk." "There's nothing to talk about," I snapped, fumbling with the espresso machine. "You kissed me back. I was drunk. You weren't." And he was right. God help me, he was right. From that moment, I knew things would never go back to the way they were. Daniel wasn't just faking anymore. And neither was I. The days that followed felt like a tug of war. Every time he reached for me, I pulled away. Every time I convinced myself I didn't care, he'd look at me with that unbearable softness, and my resolve would crack. He started showing up everywhere, at my shift, outside my apartment, even at the library where I thought I could hide. Always with the same look in his eyes, like he was searching for something in me I didn't have the strength to give. And God, I hated him for it. I hated him for making me feel seen, for making me want, for making me dream of a life I'd long stopped believing in. But hate is just love with scars. and every scar I carried pulsed when he was near. The breaking point came 2 weeks later. His parents had invited me to a charity gala in Cincinnati, all glittering chandeliers and champagne flutes. We were dressed to the nines, Daniel in a navy suit that fit him like sin, me in a borrowed blazer that smelled faintly of mothballs. All night we played our roles flawlessly. He laughed at my jokes. I touched his arm at the right times. To everyone else, we were perfect. But when the night ended, when we slipped outside into the cool air, the pretense cracked. I can't keep doing this, I told him, my voice raw. Doing what? He asked, his breath visible in the cold. This, pretending, kissing me like it means something when it doesn't. It does mean something. His words were fierce, almost angry. It means everything. I froze. My lungs forgot how to breathe. Ethan, he whispered, stepping closer, his hand hovering near mine. Don't run from this. Don't run from me. And that was the moment I realized I wasn't afraid of Daniel. I was afraid of how much I wanted him. The night of the gala should have been the end. I told myself I could walk away, that leaving Daniel behind would be the safest choice for both of us. But then, safe had never meant alive. For days after, I tried to disappear. I worked longer shifts at the cafe, dodged his calls, ignored his texts that ranged from sharp demands to trembling confessions. Yet no matter how far I tried to push him, he found me standing in the rain outside my apartment, waiting in his truck at the corner of the block, lingering in the silence of the church parking lot after Sunday service. He wasn't chasing me out of pride or possession. He was chasing me because, for the first time in his life, he wasn't willing to lie. The breaking point came the night my landlord slipped an eviction notice under my door. I sat on the floor of my tiny apartment, papers scattered around me, shame pressing like a weight on my chest. I had no savings, no plan, no family willing to help. Then the knock came. I didn't need to open the door to know it was him. I could feel his presence, steady and relentless. Ethan, his voice cracked through the wood, softer than I'd ever heard it. Please, just let me in. I almost didn't, but loneliness is a cruel thing. It wears you down until even the love you're afraid of feels better than the emptiness that swallows you whole. So I unlocked the door. Daniel didn't step inside right away. He just stood there, soaked in the rain, hair plastered to his forehead, eyes burning with a mix of fury and desperation. You can keep running, he said quietly, but I'm not letting you do it alone. And in that moment, something inside me cracked wide open. We didn't speak much that night. He sat on the floor beside me, shoulder to shoulder, as I told him about the debts I carried, the mother who barely spoke my name anymore, the weight of always being too much and never enough. He listened without judgment, his hand brushing mine when I trembled, his silence heavy with understanding. I don't know how to do this, I admitted. Neither do I, he said, his voice thick. But I know I don't want to do it without you. It wasn't a declaration. It was a promise. Word spread in town faster than fire in dry grass. By the following Sunday, whispers curled like smoke in the pews. Mrs. Walker from across the street avoided my gaze. Pastor Miller's sermon bent sharp toward sin and shame. Even Daniel's father's handshake had turned cold, his jaw tight as if holding back a storm. I thought Daniel would break under the pressure. He didn't. Instead, he reached for my hand in the middle of church. Out in the open. No performance, no pretending. Just his fingers laced with mine, steady, unshaken. The world didn't end, but in that moment, it felt like it had begun again. The weeks that followed weren't easy. His parents begged. Mine threatened silence deeper than the one that already existed. Friends drifted. Neighbors whispered. Jobs disappeared. But through it all, Daniel stood taller, even when I tried to shrink into the shadows. One evening, when the tension had nearly swallowed me whole, he pulled me out to the edge of Willow Creek, to a quiet field where the stars burned brighter than anywhere else. Why are you doing this? I asked, voice raw. Because for once in my life, I'm not lying about who I am, he said. And I'm not lying about you. Couldn't hold back anymore. I kissed him then, not out of accident, not out of fear, but out of choice. And for the first time, it didn't feel like running. Felt like home. Months passed. We found new rhythms. His parents softened, if not with acceptance, then with reluctant tolerance. My mother called, her voice hesitant but warmer than it had been in years. Jobs came slowly, then steadily. The town still whispered, but whispers lose power when you stop listening. Love is never a miracle cure. It doesn't erase the past or silence the noise, but it gives you something to hold when the storm comes. And Daniel became my anchor. The last night of summer, we returned to that same field where everything had changed. The air smelled of grass and hope, the horizon painted gold with the promise of morning. Daniel stood beside me, his leather jacket traded for a soft shirt, his hand brushing mine with quiet certainty. I used to think love was a weakness, I said. Something people like me couldn't afford. And now, he asked, his smile gentle. Now I think it's the bravest thing I've ever done. He leaned in, his forehead resting against mine. Then let's keep being brave. Together. And as the sun rose over Willow Creek, I realized the lie we once built had become the truest thing I'd ever known. Because sometimes, the love you're most afraid of is the one that saves you. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.